welcome to the second non-stream stretch goal update concerning the Type S scout ship. Ben is still on vacation and I'm still Albin, working on the stretch goals. So this week I've been continuing with work on engines. Basically, where we last left off, I had made a system, we could call it, to enable the external parts of the engines to be exchangeable. So you can have different alternatives and swap them out as you want, basically. It also enables me to work more iteratively and to put details and stuff like that on a base mesh, and it should theoretically improve the workflow as well. So that's what I've continued on this week. I've been making different iterations of the engines and the inserts as well. If we take a look at the resulting scene, you can see that there are a few meshes that I have produced. So basically, this one is like the connector plate. You will put this into the back end of the ship in the rear, basically. Then we have an array of what do I call, could perhaps call them engine cones. So there are a few things here. Maybe they should be swapped around. These over here, they are from the same base. That's the base that I've been working on, or I worked on last week. So they are basically the same in the interior. So you could like take these parts away like that. So you see this is the connection area, and it should be exactly the same on every model. And then you just basically duplicate these faces, for example, and generate mesh on top of it. So this plate here, it's basically this plate from the mesh over here. So if I were to like duplicate these face, I would do extrusions and stuff like that to get this shape. Oh, I should return this to the original way. And then we have these models where I've used basically the same concept, but it's like I use one base segment and just duplicate around the mesh. And this is the original one. That's what Ben made at the first. So that's the OG. Then I was watching talking on Facebook, the Traveler RPG forum. The Traveler maneuver drives aren't conventional like rocket combustion engines or whatever you would call it. They run on fusion or fission. Or there are a lot of different ways. I think there's like a gravity drive as well, and different ways it's producing momentum or drive. Technically, you don't really need a what I would call afterburner. So that freed me up to think of different designs. I got a few ideas from our Discord as well. Maybe I don't really have to be locked into the circular shape. So that one, this is just a work in progress for now, but we will get to that one later, I think. It's not finished, it hasn't got an inset or anything like that yet. I think I need to work a little bit on the overall shape as well, but we'll get to that later. But this one is interesting because I asked for reference material as well from the Traveler Facebook group, and they were really kind and sent a lot of different images to help stimulate my creativity. And one of the things that I noticed when it comes to these engines is that they tend to be quite shallow. The external part doesn't really protrude that much. So that's where this one comes from. So this one doesn't really have the same dimensions. It's a little bit thinner as well. I could perhaps later on do a version where I have insets. I don't really have time to do that right now though. So we will get to that in a later stage perhaps. I'm not promising anything. And then the thing here is that the way I thought to increase the variation is that you have these insets and you can just put them in whatever engine cone you want, basically. So you could just swap them around like this. Or if you want to have vertical ribbed insets on this engine, you could just move it around and switch it around like this. I think that combination is kind of nice. That's the one I kind of used with. This is kind of interesting. I mean, they are kind of neutral and they work with each other kind of nicely. So that's a good way to get variation without making 10 different engines and everyone is completely unique. Now you can use base meshes and like variations on a theme, you could say, or something like that. So this base cone, that it can take 3 appearances basically. So that's kind of a nice way to work, I think, when you get the opportunity to, because it saves a bit of time as well, so I can be more creative. And this squared off one, I'm not really sure what kind of pattern I want into it, but as you can see, I need to put in a solution for how to put in the insets if I get the time, and the interior doesn't look super great. I might not have too much time to fill around with it though, so we will see how it turns out. But I'm kind of happy with the base concept at least. Yeah. Yeah, so that was the base concept in 3D, how it looks, and I thought you might want to see how it looks when you actually put in that plastic that I was talking about last week as well. So I actually got some gel sheets from Mikael at Docus. He's the guy who has helped us make the set for the commercial that we made earlier as well. So I thought you could look here in the background how it looks, roughly how it looks when it's assembled. I mean, it looks kind of nice, I think. Now, especially when it's getting dark, you can kind of see how the light bleeds through the material and stuff like that. I mean, I was talking to someone at Discord who wondered if you could use like aluminum foil, for example, to help the lamps. If you could cover the insides, and I think, I mean, there is room for it, and it should probably help alleviate the bleed through as well. So that might be something that you could actually do. So that's a good idea, I think. Next week, there might be some cleanup. If I have time left over, I might look at that squared off engine cone. It depends. The primary focus next week should probably be the landing gear. That's what I'm thinking, at least. Because it seems, when I get in contact with people, that they are very interested in the landing gear. And it might be complicated to make, so you should get started on it sooner rather than later, basically. So the first thing I'm going to do next week, I think, is to create a base similarly to what I've done with the engine cones these past weeks. So it's going to be a non-articulated connection point to the existing open lock system for the legs, and I'm not really decided how it's going to look, but there's going to be some sort of rigid structure that you can just pop in, basically, I'm thinking. And when I have this base concept, I'm thinking that I should probably start to look for designs and continue sketching out new designs as well, similarly to what I've done with the engines, of course. I'm thinking airplanes, but a more sci-fi theme to it. Yeah, we'll have to see, basically. So I'm going to look a bit at designing, so you get some more interesting results. And that is going to take up the time, I think, basically. Yeah, that's probably where we are right now, at least. So I hope you found this update interesting or useful. If you have any questions, you could ask at Discord if you're a member. My handle is Carbonhead. And if you found this on YouTube, you could just leave a comment down below and we'll check it out. I think you can do late pledges still if you want to. And I mean, basically we have our shop at My Mini Factory. So if you want to buy different things from Second Dynasty, you can look there as well. And I want to thank people at the Traveler RPG forum for being so generous with feedback and illustrations, and I want to thank people at the Discord as well. You are great, and I'm very grateful for all the feedback that I can get. And because I mean, we put our efforts and our love into this project, and we want it to be a good product for you guys. So just type away whatever. And we'll see each other next week, basically. Take care. And, spacebar.